Hello and welcome to another Games Tech Core video. Today we're looking at Threads almost a year post-launch to check in and see how it's doing. So some background on Threads. So it's a microblogging site from Meta. It was launched last year on July 6th and it's very much created in the wake of Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter, now X. I find this it's very fascinating, this site. Because following Elon Musk's takeover, there was a launch of quite a few different microblogging sites, such as Threads, we're talking about here, and Mastodon, and Blue Sky, and others. And particularly with Threads, given the size of Meta and the competitive dynamics there between, for instance, between Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, I think it's really interesting just to follow how this app develops over time. So looking at Threads, so when it first came out, it was actually the fastest app to 100 million users in history. So it took just over 4 days, I believe, to get to that figure, which surpassed the previous fastest app to get there, which was ChatGPT, which took, I believe, around 2 months towards the end of 2022. Shortly after that, and after that big launch, after all that excitement of people wondering what this new Twitter competitor from Meta was, it then did the usage of it did drop quite precipitously. So here you can see on this chart. Now there's a lot of numbers flying around for the users metrics and monthly actives and daily actives. So I'll go through what I've found as I've been researching it for this video. But this is an interesting chart here, and this is up for August last year. So this is really showing what happened in the wake, and you can very much see big spike up in terms of usage from its users, and then so up to just a bit over the users using it about 20 minutes a day, and then that declined to about 3 minutes per day or so versus 25 or so from Twitter. And in terms of daily active users, and the figures that I found, I believe it was around 40 something million for daily active users when it was shortly after first launch, but that quickly fell down to under 10. So it's definitely quite a bit of a drop for Threads. However, since that drop, sort of in late summer, early autumn last year, it has slowly been increasing. Particularly when Threads was finally launched in the EU at the end of December, there was a material spike. So we are seeing that kind of steady increase. So, given that's the launch and the initial week after it, the question we really want to look at here is where are we now with Threads? So from the figures that I've seen. And I'll switch over to this table. Okay, there we go. So Threads now has about 150 million monthly active users. So it's definitely a decent amount. And it's 190 million total users, but 150 million is in terms of monthly actives. And this is coming from Meta's published figures from their first. For Q1 2024 earnings call, but so that has continued to increase. It's still quite far away behind X, which is at 350 million monthly active users approximately. So again, these are the kind of numbers that I've found. The exact amount could vary a little bit, but these are the sort of quantums we're looking at here. So following on from that, so on top of that, so looking at the daily actives, so Threads is now, as I mentioned before, it was around sort of 40 something million when it was first launched, fell down to under 10. It's now a bit over 35 million daily active users or so. So that has grown steadily. Again, like with the monthly actives. It's a fair bit lower than Twitter, X, which has daily active users around 260 million or so. And whereas users are splitting around just over 30 minutes a day on X per user. The figures for Threads, it's not entirely clear the usage, but From what I gather, it's definitely it's lower than 30 minutes, but it's certainly higher than 3 minutes than when it fell to last summer. So from what I see, it seems to be around maybe 10 minutes sort of daily on the app. But again, that one's it's a bit fuzzy on that one. But what isn't fuzzy, so I go to this chart here, is that it is. I think this is quite a good illustration of this is the total users, not monthly actives, but the total. But there is just this steady increase in users over time. So some sort of slow and steady. So as the app becomes more established, and as that this amount continues to grow, it'll definitely be really interesting to see where things end up. Sorry. So, and given Meta's heft and experience of running social apps, and they've also development has remained very active as well. So Mark Zuckerberg, he posts there a lot, so he's certainly seems engaged in the Threads app. And they've also added a whole bunch of features that were really being called out for because it was launched in a fairly bare bones state. So features such as full website access, a following feed, keyword searching, and hashtags have all been added. So still a lot of development energy happening. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see where it goes. And so pulling that all together in conclusion, it's still very early to tell how it's all going to play out. This microblogging space, it's it's a very active, as I mentioned, with X and Threads and Blue Sky and Mastodon and others. It's all still very much up in the air. How this sort of this new world of microblogging is gonna all shake out. But if one thing that we can say with certainty is that it's going to be very, very interesting to see how where it all lands. So it's something that we definitely want to keep an eye on. So that's everything I wanted to cover in this video. So there's some questions for you. Do you use Threads? If you do, how do you find it? And what are your thoughts on how do you expect it to perform in the future versus particularly X, but then also versus the other microblogging sites? So I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions in the comments. In the meantime, I'll leave the links to the articles that I've talked about in the description. Otherwise, please like, share, and subscribe if you like the video. And otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.